welcome. So today is gonna be a review of pretty much the last two books I've read. I had to give it a little break before I started talking about them because I was probably just gonna get in front of the camera and gush, but I need to do these books justice. So previous to this was me reading The Missing of Claire de Lune. Yes, so I can't, okay. Yeah, so this book is the second in the Mirror Visitor Quartet, that's what it's called. So the first one is called A Winter's Promise. Yeah, and I read that one and then straight away I had to go buy The Missing because it's just so good. So yes, I'm going to more do a review of this one, but like both of them at the same time. They're not going to be spoiler ones, so don't have to worry about that one. But yes, I am talking about both of these, more or less. And the first thing I want to say is look at these covers. They are gorgeous. Or to me they're gorgeous, but like let's see if we can get this. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't know if that was like good or anything, but like these are just gorgeous. So the next thing that I need to say is I give both of these 5-star reviews. So yes, I thoroughly enjoyed these, like especially the fact that I bought this, read it, and then like the next day I went and bought this one. So yes, I feel like they're highly addictive. So these were translated from the French. Oh yeah, they're by Christelle Debos. Anyway, if you can hear a cat meowing in the background, I apologize. So as a general explanation of what these books are, they're classified as YA fantasy. Meow! Yeah, so these books are classified as YA fantasy, but I feel like that's a somewhat misleading description of the genre. Hello. Oh, Loki. Booktube Loki. Yeah, so I feel like it's a slightly incorrect description of the genre simply because I don't think it's YA. Like, it doesn't feel like YA. Like, it does and it doesn't. It's been compared to Harry Potter before, and I can see how that is correct. But also, like, firstly, the main character is described as a little girl, but she's clearly old enough to be married off because that's like the whole premise of the story. But yeah, it's just, you never find out the ages of the characters, and like the fiance, you don't know how old he is, but he like seems like he's in his 30s, but I don't think he is at the same time. Anyway, that's like a little bit of a rant over the genre. I will now explain what these books are about. So this story is about, it's like almost in a post-apocalyptic world after an event called the Rupture, and it's seen through a mythological lens. So the world is broken up into like many different pieces, and then you have these arcs that are basically suspended above the earth. And Earth as we know it today is called the Old World in this story, so it's like post-apocalyptic. Yeah, so these arcs then have their own family spirits, and our main character comes from an arc whose family spirit is Artemis. So that's where the mythological lens comes into it. Yes, and so this girl whose name is Ophelia, she is our protagonist, and the events of the story basically starts with her being married off to a man from another arc. And we learn through the opening of the story and then the progression of the story that members from these arcs have powers, basically, and they have been passed down from the family spirits, and each arc have their own family spirits, as I mentioned before. And Ophelia's power is to read the history of objects with her hands, and this is basically a main part of her identity. Another power that she possesses, which is seen as a rare power, is to walk through mirrors from one place to another, but over short distances. And because she's married to a man from another arc, she has to move basically to where he lives. And we get to see this story through her eyes, more or less, as she travels across the world to his arc, the pole, and we see the conflicts and the tensions between the two characters, and then we view this whole new world as Ophelia sees it, and the intricacies of the court there, and the intrigues and the politics, and it's such an enriched world of culture that is more or less, like, it's foreign to not only Ophelia, but as personally as a reader. Now that I've poorly explained what the story is about, I will now try to attempt to explain how it works. I don't know. Okay, so this world is so complex, and it's so full of detail, and it's so opulent, I suppose, that you don't really notice the plot progression. You are submerged into this new world like Ophelia, so you get lost in the detail, and it's beautiful detail. But when you pare all of that back, you realize that the plot is actually like basically nothing happening, and then get to the conflict, more or less. Like, the conflict builds up so slowly in the background, and then you get to it and it ends. So more or less, for both of these books, takes more than half the book, which is they're pretty chunky books, more than half of the book to get to the conflict. So it'll happen about like there, and then it will happen all so quickly. Yeah, so I found that the pacing, it wasn't necessarily off, but the pacing did go a bit slow. Like, the storyline, everything happens pretty quickly and a lot happens, but the plot progression is quite slow. So that's just something to keep in mind when looking for a next read. I definitely recommend these books because I love them, and if you love fantasy and you're looking for a new world, this is definitely it. But yeah, if you're not into like slow building stories, might not be for you. As I mentioned earlier, it's complex story, but it's like beautifully complex for me anyway. So as I said, there are a lot of beautiful details, and there is a lot to learn, more or less because I feel like this is a new sort of story, not the one that I've seen anyway. So there's a lot of little things that you've got to learn and you've got to hold on to as you're moving through the books. Yeah, but I was enthralled and I thoroughly enjoyed them. Another really great thing about this series is that these characters are so well-rounded, they're so intricate like anyone else, that none of them really fell flat. Some of them may appear for like a short, like maybe for a chapter or two, but they don't seem pointless. At no point did I feel that about any of these characters. they're all different as well, which is a good thing. It's something that I don't think I've seen in a while, where you have a wide cast of people and none of them really get lost in similar details or feeling flat. And I know sometimes a part of writing and having a book is that some characters are necessary to be flat, because you can't have all the characters being all fully developed at all times. But for these stories, none of them felt that way. So none of them really felt that way, and I don't think that really detracts either way. So I think that's like brownie points there. Another thing about these books, you don't really see much romance, which is a good thing. I feel like YA fantasy, especially nowadays, has everything that you could ask of all genres. So you'll have your fantasy backdrop, but then you'll have some mystery to solve or some adventure to go on, which there is a mystery and there are adventures in these novels, but most other YA fantasy also has some element of romance, and you would expect the same from this book, especially because we have characters that have been engaged. So you'd expect a romance, but you don't really see that, which I think is kind of refreshing. We do see a girl, Ophelia, who rejects the expectation of women to get married, because we see at the start of the books that she's already refused 2 marriage proposals, and she's just like, no, I just want to continue my career of reading objects. And then from there she gets engaged against her will, and then you see the whole story unfold from there. But I love it, and I love the fiance Thorn, which I haven't mentioned his name up until now, I apologize. Thorn, I just feel like is such a great character, because the whole time he also rejects the marriage, but you can see the tensions between the characters, and not necessarily in a romantic way. They really seem to hate each other at the start, and it's an interesting dynamic to witness. So yeah, I think that's like another refreshing detail about these stories that I haven't really seen in a while, where especially YA fantasy, because looking at my shelves now, the majority of the YA fantasy has romance in it, and has been a integral part of the story. So yeah, I think that's another tick, more brownie points to the author for that one. With this story as well, it always kept me on my toes. Like, I'm always, while reading, or I'm always like, oh, this is gonna happen, or I think this is gonna happen, and then some of the times I'm correct in guessing at each turn of what happens. Oh my god, my words are not working today. This story though, what, Loki? Meow, meow, what? But for these books, as much as I still made those guesses, I was pleasantly wrong in some cases as well. Like, I guessed a couple of things, which I'm proud about, but that was more because we do have the mythological links in these books. From my knowledge of those stories, I was able to make some guesses, but I was so wrong in other things. I'm still questioning the ending of the last one, because the whole time we have, especially in the second book, the whole time I had a thought, like a definite thought, like, okay, so this character is the bad guy, essentially, the main bad guy. But now I'm not even so sure. Yeah, so I'm still questioning things now, and unfortunately, like, I can't do what I did with the first book where I went out and bought the second one because the third one isn't out in English translation yet. But it's out in French, and oh, I have to wait for an English translation, and I think that's gonna be like towards the end of next year, and I have to wait, and oh, I don't like waiting. But yes, I definitely recommend these books. I have had such a blast reading them. I really think it's worthwhile sticking with them and giving them a go, because they're definitely different from what I've read. I don't think I've come across, I definitely haven't come across anything like this. If any of you have read these books and know of something similar or something just as good, please feel free to recommend them down below in the comment section, because I need more books like this. They're honestly so good. I love exploring the different corners of the fantasy world, especially ones that can be considered YA, because I feel like, although I'm not too certain about it, but I feel like they're always different from other fantasy, because not that they're necessarily lighter in subject matter, but I don't know, they seem different, and I would definitely love to read more like this. And I definitely think that more like these two especially should be read. So, long, windy road cut short, give these two a go. They might just become your favorites. Have a lovely day.